Hi everyone, it's CNB time here on NDTV and I am Siddharth Vinayak Partnkar. With me, the Volkswagen Virtus. It's a car you've seen before, we have reviewed it for you as well, but now it's finally had its market debut, which means we have prices, so I'll start off straight away by telling you those prices. Remember, there's a 1 litre and the 1.5, the GT Plus with the DSG gearbox. That's only what you get on the 1.5. On the 1 litre, there's a whole bunch of variants, and which is why I'm going to quickly refer to all the prices. The Comfort line starts at 11,21,000 rupees. You got the High line that goes up to 12,97,000 for the manual, 14,27,000 for the automatic. The top line, 14,41,000 for the manual and 15,71,000 for the automatic transmission. And then you got that performance line, the GT Plus with the 1.5 litre engine. That is priced at 17,91,000 rupees. So wide price band, kind of similar to what you would have expected, because of course the Slavia, its sister car, has already launched and you know those prices. And if you look at the entire set of sedans in this compact sedan category, well, then you've got a fairly competitive price set, because we are comparing of course to cars like the Honda City and the Hyundai Verna. A new color that hasn't been seen in the VW lineup, it's called Rising Blue. Sounds like an IPL team, but that's what they call it. And that and more is what we'd like for you to react on, because that's not all we have for you on today's show, of course. We also want to now get into the latest from KTM. The RC390 is all set for its debut. Preetham spent a good amount of time with the bike to bring you this review.
Meet the 2022 KTM RC390, KTM India's flagship sport bike. It's available in two colors, the KTM Orange and the new KTM Factory Racing Blue, the color of our test bike. The RC390 now gets significantly updated with a new design, new colors and a whole lot of other changes. It now gets new switchgear from the 390 Duke, as well as the full color TFT screen with a night mode. It also gets Bluetooth connectivity, but you still don't get navigation through the app. There's ride-by-wire, traction control and cornering ABS, as well as a standard quick shifter, which make the new RC390 quite a well-equipped motorcycle. There are changes made with weight loss in mind, but also to make it easier, more accessible and not as aggressive and committed as before. The idea is to make it more appealing to a wider range of riders, making it more street-friendly for everyday use. And some of those changes have been made with that sole purpose in mind.
Okay, so let's take a look at what all has changed visually on the all-new KTM RC 390. Now the overall stance and silhouette remains the same. The first thing you'll notice is the face. It's completely been redesigned with a new windshield, new headlight. It's a love it or hate it kind of thing. You may like it, you may not like it. Well, opinion subjective. Frankly, to me, the older design of the face looked sharper than this one. But yeah, the more time you spend with it, it begins to grow on you. Now, what has also changed is the fuel tank size, the capacity of the fuel tank. So for those of you who used the old RC390 with a 9.7 litre tank, this one gets over 13.5 litres of fuel tank capacity, so it gets more range between refills. And now the clip-ons, the handlebars have been moved up by 14.5 millimeters, so it makes the riding position more comfortable for everyday practical use. The outgoing model had a more committed and aggressive position, but this one has a more relaxed and slightly more upright riding position. The fairing has also been redesigned, and you get about 10% bigger radiator, which is curved too, and that fairing has been designed to blow the hot air away from the rider. The wheels, again redesigned, now gets a 5-spoke design. The discs are also new. Overall, both the wheels and the disc included shaves about 1.1 kilos each on the new KTM RC 390. And the suspension is new as well, according to KTM. Both front and rear, same WP spec, but these are new suspension. And the rear suspension, the rear shock on this gets preload as well as damping adjustment, but the front doesn't get adjustability. And what has also changed is the frame. Now it gets a bolt-on subframe. The earlier KTM RC390 had a single piece steel trellis frame. This one gets a bolt-on trellis frame, but the weight has gone up there about slightly more, about 100 grams more on the new frame. So on the dry weight side, the new KTM RC 390 loses about 3.7 kilos, but combined with a bigger petrol tank, new frame, it still just about manages to lose about 1 kg on the curb weight on the new model. Now the air box has also been made bigger. It's about 40% bigger in the old one, and according to KTM, the airbox design itself has made the torque feel much more punchier and meatier in the low and mid-range. If you thought the earlier KTM RC 390 had torque more in the higher revs, this one got a meatier rev range, meatier torque in the low and mid-ranges. So that's the one, the new KTM RC 390 made for more practical everyday use. So let's go ride it.
On the move, the new RC 390's more comfortable riding position is immediately apparent. The ergonomics aren't as committed as before, and it has now become definitely easier for everyday riding. But make no mistake, there's still a potent power plant underneath the racy looking bodywork. The 373cc single-cylinder engine is the same, but changes to the airbox, chassis and suspension all come together to offer a smooth, more refined feel overall. Yes, you can still tuck behind the windscreen, and there's plenty of go across the rev range to keep you suitably entertained. According to KTM, the acceleration times to 60 and to 100 km per hour have also improved, with the dash to 100 quicker by more than half a second. And when the corners come up, the chassis retains superb balance. The sticky Metzeler tires come together to offer sharp and confident handling. The new electronics package also does a very good job of keeping you safe, with an inertial measurement unit which powers the cornering ABS.
So in terms of performance, at the test track here in Chakan, we saw a speedo indicated top speed of 165 kilometers before it was time to brake to the last corner. And I think what comes across, the takeaway is that the new KTM RC 390, the throttle response feels smoother than before. Especially when you're taking corners, you're taking a set of corners. Mid-corner, you need to make corrections. The handling, it feels quite planted, and that sense of twitchiness, nervousness is gone. I think overall, the new KTM RC 390 will make it more appealing to a wider set of riders who are trying to get into the sport bike riding scheme of things. So, good performance, good handling, and the throttle response, the torque comes across quite nicely. And for me, the quick shifter worked like no problems whatsoever. Of course, we are changing the gears at high revs. Everyday situations, I don't know how the quick shifter will work, but here at test track, no problem with the quick shifter whatsoever. What is also impressive is the bite and feel of the brakes. Quite nice, short stopping power when you need to brake hard, take a corner. Overall, I think the new KTM RC 390 is quite an improvement. In one word, it's become more accessible, friendlier. So even if you're upgrading from a smaller bike, the new KTM RC 390 is comfortable to ride, more accessible, friendlier than before.
With the updates, the 2022 KTM RC 390 certainly has become a motorcycle which is better suited for everyday use. And for the minority of users who want to cut their teeth on a racetrack, it still offers a capable and potent track tool. Prices though have gone up by 36,000 rupees, but in its segment, the 2022 KTM RC 390 still makes for a very strong case as a performance-oriented and well-equipped sports bike.
We saw the global unveil, we saw the virtual presentation, and now finally we get to see the car in the flesh. Well, you're still seeing it on a video, but I get a little bit lucky standing next to the new C3 from Citroen. Now, this is the volumes model, part of the whole C-cubed strategy from the company, which means this platform, the SmartCar platform as they like to call it, will spawn multiple body styles, lots of different variants and lots of options. This is the first one. The car will be exported from India, and primary markets will be in the ASEAN and Latin American as well as the African markets. And it is very much a C3. There's a reason why the company says it picked that badging. There already is a C3 in Europe, but it's the badge that Citroen uses for its B segment hatch. That is what this is. Now, B segment hatch, that whole terminology may be a little bit archaic, especially in our context, because who really cares about actual divisions between segments anymore? It's about attributes, it's about what excites you, and that is where Citroen is playing with this car. So SUV-like styling, two-tone roof options. There are going to be 4 colors. There's a dark gray, there's a steel gray, which is kind of like a silver gray, and then of course there's a white, and there's an orange. So you can have the two-tone option with black roof or the orange roof. Lots of customization options as well being offered with this car. 56 customization options and 3 factory-fitted packs that, in terms of styling, you can opt for as well, called Elegance, Energy and Vibe. There's a whole bunch of accessories that get clubbed together to make those packs. You can choose that at the time of purchase. 2 engine options, both petrol, both 3-cylinder. So essentially same block, but one which is turbocharged. The output, 80 bhp on the naturally aspirated and 108 bhp on the one that gets the turbo. No automatic at this point, but you get a 6-speed manual on the turbo, 5-speed on the naturally aspirated. Ground clearance, it's a huge USP according to the company. Now there's an embargo, I'm going to keep saying that, so which means I can't really tell you what I think about all of this. That's something you can tell me. So please go ahead and comment and tell us just what you think in terms of first impressions, what this car feels like to you, also how it should be positioned and how it should be priced. Now let's take a look inside. A B hatch, but with B plus proportions on the inside. That's something that the company has been very clear about in its communication in terms of the sense of space, the kind of dimensions, shoulder room in the front, even the seating position and the height of the seats. That was a key part of the presentation to us, so that the car feels a little bit more tall, upright, SUV-like, still a hatch. Yes, there are also a lot of customization options on the inside. You do get these colorful panels that you can choose, and there's a lot that you can do to express your style, as the company likes to call it. The overall sense of plastics, etc., I can't comment about because of the embargo, but I can tell you that there's a huge 10-inch touchscreen and a digital cluster. You got the air conditioning. There is one USB point here, and there are a couple of them for the rear. The rear window switches are here in the middle, the power windows, and you've got the 2 front window switches here, and of course the one on that side as well. The steering wheel intentionally created in a way that it's a little bit compact because they want to get that sense of more maneuverability into the wheel, and so it's an under 5 meter turning circle according to the company as well. That's something that we will of course check out on the road. In terms of styling and in terms of what you're seeing here, a lot of it is very typical Citroen territory. Again, I can't tell you how I like it or don't just yet, but you can take a look at it and see that there is a lot of use of color, interesting plastics, different textures, different kind of a palette, and the AC vents have a very specific Citroen design, feel and identity. At the back now, theater style seating in the back, which means you get a sense of better visibility even as a rear passenger. Now could be tight for 3 people, but of course still definitely a 5-seater. And again, I can't comment on a few of these things here, but you can get a sense of the kind of space that the car offers, both in terms of the headroom, the leg room, and also the seating position that I have, in terms of under thigh support and the backrest. It does instantly give you a sense of being not quite hatch-like, and that is something that's different. That's all I can say at this point. I did mention that there are 2 USB points back here, and you know what? You also get a 315-liter boot, and there are a whole lot of options that you can do from the point of view of customizing as well. So it's nice and deep, as I mentioned, 315 liters, but the lip sits kind of high, so we'll have to see how that works out in real world conditions when you're trying to load things in, but nice big sense of space as far as that boot is concerned. Styling wise, of course, the car, you know, the way that bumper is, the higher lip, even the height of the car, yes, very, very much SUV like. That is intentional from a styling point of view, because of course a lot of buyers, customers, they like that sort of thing. 15-inch wheels, again, biggest for its class, says the company. But what is the class? I think that's going to be the key question, because Citroen is very careful not to badge this as the C3 Aircross. They're calling it a hatchback, but it will play in that space where a lot of buyers have a lot of interest. So will it take on premium hatchbacks? Will it take on entry hatchbacks? Will it take on micro SUVs like the Tata Punch? What will decide that answer? Well, it comes down to the pricing and the positioning of the car. That is something we can only speculate about this at this point, but we'll have the actual prices in just a little over a month from now. That was the Citroen C3, our first look at the car. Tell us if you like it, tell us if you don't. Now let's talk about the car that made Audi a household name in India. Yes, maybe you didn't know how to say it at the time, but it was 1985 when, for the World Championship of Cricket, you had this mega final, India-Pakistan, at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, and India won. At the time, Ravi Shastri was champion of champions, and he got the Audi 100 as the prize. It was a special car. Those images of the entire team climbing onto that car and driving around the ground, well, every cricket lover remembers that. That car has now been restored and returned to its rightful owner. It's a special moment, not just for Audi, not just for Ravi Shastri, but also for motoring legacy here in India.
Audi's connection with cricketers does not begin with Yuvraj Singh or Virat Kohli or one of the new gen cricketers. The connection goes all the way back to 1985, and it involves Ravi Shastri and an Audi 100. The Audi 100 was presented to Shastri in 1985 at the Benson and Hedges World Championship of Cricket in Australia. And now, 37 years later, he has taken the delivery of the same car, which has been restored by Raymond Group Chairman and Managing Director Gautam Singhania's Supercar Club Garage.
It looks like the car I won 37 years ago. The same. Nothing has changed. I mean, hats off to Gautam Supercar for doing this stuff the way they have. Unbelievable. You know what it does? It jogs back your memory 37 years to that given day. What was happening when the keys were given in my hand? What did I do? Who were the people who sat on the car? How much champagne was on the seats? Who was sitting on top of the car? How many people were around the G when you took it for a spin without a license? You know, so all those memories come jogging back.
The folks at the Supercar Club Garage say that the car came to them in a very poor condition. It had to go through various countries' old part auction sites and brokers and scrapyards to source the necessary parts. Even the original color code was procured from the manufacturer to retain its initial appeal. In fact, the only visible addition made to the car is the signature of Shastri on the front fender. Even the cabin has been restored to its original condition, featuring fabric seat covers. Singhania was very clear that he didn't want to use any replica parts.
So the car came, it was not working at all. We completely stripped the car and then piece by piece rebuilt it from scratch. Painstakingly, you know, you had to find a lot of original parts. A door panel here, a dashboard there, because it's a 37-year-old discontinued model, and it was a bit of a challenge. But then it took maybe just under a year. But I think with the painstaking efforts of Irfan at the garage, I think we were able to do it.
The car owned by Ravi Shastri is the Audi 100 2.3e model, which is powered by a 2.3-litre inline 5-cylinder petrol engine, capable of churning out a good 134 brake horsepower. It's always great to see a car being restored to its former glory, and the Audi 100, with all the memories it carries for Shastri, it will surely be his pride and joy.
With the Virtus, Volkswagen says it's got quite the package. It's one of the biggest cars in the segment, and it is fairly competitively priced. Remember, introductory prices. At this time, of course, you don't have to be aggressive, because anything you launch, it goes off the shelves given the shortage in the car market. But that's not the point. Of course, there's a lot riding on the India 2.0 strategy coming almost to a culmination with the Virtus. React to this car, react to the KTM and everything else that you want to talk about, you can send it to me on Twitter at @SidPartankar or follow carandbike.com for all of these reviews and news from the world of cars and bikes. I will see you next week. Please stay safe, please wear your seatbelts and take care.